Today, on episode 136 of the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast, we have Karen Sullivan, a marketing expert on the show, and she's going to tell you how you can get more clients to your door. That's right, folks. Today, we're going hard business, and we're talking about marketing. Are you ready for this? All right, let's do it.
Welcome to this episode of Moving Forward Leadership. Stick around and learn how to achieve, excel, and become a leader that people willingly follow. Lead, don't boss. And now, here's the host of our show, Chief Leadership Officer, Scott McCarthy.
Welcome one, welcome all to the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast. It is your Chief Leadership Officer, Scott McCarthy, and welcome to the podcast where we talk about the three domains of leadership, and those are leading yourself so that you can be the best leader possible, leading your team so that you can build teams to be high-performing teams, and finally, leading your organization so that you can increase that organizational output, whatever that is. Maybe it's profits, maybe it's votes, maybe it's something else in between. Don't really care because it doesn't matter, because here, everybody needs leadership, and the principles apply to everyone. It's so great to have you here. And hey, if you want to check out more within the Moving Forward Leadership ecosystem, be sure to go to movingforwardleadership.com. And the show notes here for this show will be housed at movingforwardleadership.com/136. All right, folks, we're talking marketing today, and that's something that we often don't do here at Moving Forward Leadership. I don't go often into those hard business topics because it's more revolving around influencing people, inspiring people, motivating people, developing teams. But as I said earlier, we need to lead our organizations. And in order to lead our organizations, we need to be able to tell people what it is we're bringing to the table. What are we offering to them? How are we going to help them? Why? Because at the end of the day, it helps put food on the table of the people that we serve and lead when you boil it down. So that's why I got Karen Sullivan on the show. And she is the owner of Sullivan Solutions, an all-in-one marketing agency that will help organizations and leaders bring marketing solutions to light. Help them know where their blind spots are, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, most importantly. And they help increase your bottom line, whatever that is. So she's got some pretty cool stuff that we talk about in the show, including your marketing superpowers. And we actually go into what my marketing superpower is and is not, most importantly. Pretty funny. And as well, we just have a really great time discussing this really important topic for you. Karen has a huge history in the realm of marketing, including becoming a VP of a large organization. So she knows what she's talking about, right? And with that, you know what? Maybe it's time for you to hear from her and not hear from me. But one last thing before I hit play on this interview, and that is, if you know someone who could use this message, if you know someone who needs help in marketing, why don't you hit pause and share this episode with them right now? So go ahead and do that right now before I hit play. All right, time's up. Let's do this. Here's my interview with Karen Sullivan talking about how to lead the marketing and not do the marketing. Karen, welcome to the Moving Forward Leadership Podcast.
Thank you. I am excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here, mainly because we just had a bunch of laughs before I hit record. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about marketing and talking about how to properly lead marketing within an organization. But really, before we dive in, let's get a bit about you. Let's get to know Karen Sullivan a little bit deeper. So, what do you tell us about who you are and how you got to where you are today, which is leading your own company.
Wow, that's how much time do we have? I can,
Cold notes.
yeah, exactly. So I grew up in a family business in was essentially rural Ohio, and fourth generation entrepreneur. So basically what that means is it's in my DNA to think outside the box and probably not take orders very well. So I made my first sale in the family business when I was probably about 7 years old. Literally worked all through school. That's just the family culture. I learned very early that you have to make yourself useful. And if you want to be really useful, you have to make things sell more. And that fascinated me. So what can we do to make people want to buy more? It wasn't so much about changing the products. It was about it's about perception. It's about marketing. So I gravitated very early towards the marketing, advertising, merchandising. And please remember, this was a very small family business, so there wasn't a budget. It was the first advertising I did was literally hand drawn, but it was fascinating. So that's where I've always been, and I find the problems I like to solve are the ones where you don't just throw money at it. You have to throw some creativity. And one of my favorite quotes has always been David Ogilvy, who said, "It's not creative if it doesn't sell." So that's kind of been my motto. Growing up in the small community, moving into high school, we founded a high school newspaper. And within the 4 years of my high school career, I was award-winning photojournalist and advertising with national awards. And that really just solidified it for me that, hey, I want to work with smaller businesses that are privately held, the owners running the business on a day-to-day basis. I can help them make things better. I can help sell more. And that's all I've really ever done. I spent a few years after college in a Fortune 200 company, sort of learning the ropes of how to play with other people. Might be a nice way to put that. But very, very soon after that, I was doing enough freelance that it just made a lot of sense to go ahead and launch Sullivan Solutions. So I did that officially in 1996 and really have never looked back. Throughout that time, I've worked for a wide variety of clients, anywhere from solopreneurs to $20-30 million companies. But again, the common factor is always that they're being run on a daily basis by the owner. It's very personal. They're there every day. They take an interest in what they do. And, it's like, in a lot of cases, it's more personal than their kids. But that understanding that often changes, or it certainly impacts and colors the business. Yes, we're in it to make money, but there's always a passion behind the financial piece. Why do you do this? So understanding what the owner wants and their goals, and are they building this for their kids? Are they building this for themselves? Are they doing this so that they don't have to go get a real day job? A lot of things, but those all color the decisions, the operational decisions and the marketing decisions, some for the better, some for the worse. My job is to be objective and say, this is all well and good. I understand where you're going with this. I understand your vision, but your primary customer probably doesn't understand it this way. They don't see it the way you do. So let's flip this around and let's get them to understand what's in it for them. It's really simple. And there's a lot of times it's almost like blinders. You get so focused on your business that you forget that other people don't see it that way. So that's some insight that I typically bring and help understand how to change that message. And that's the marketing foundation and the marketing problem solving that Sullivan Solutions has always been about.
That's awesome. Awesome. Love it. And that's pretty impressive. 4th generation entrepreneur. That's a lot of experience being pushed up through to you. I'm going to be a 1st generation solopreneur, side hustler right now at the moment. So I'm learning a lot through the school of hard knocks per se. Now, you talked about business owners and you work with a lot of small business owners, and we have a lot of entrepreneurs who listen to the Moving Forward Leadership podcast, and they're hungry. They're frothy at the mouth. They want to learn. They want to be the best leader that they can be. And here at the show, we talk about 3 domains of leadership, and that is leading yourself better. So how you can hit your own peak performance, how you can optimize your workday, et cetera. Leading your team, how you can build that team to a cohesive unit to take care of Jane, Jan, Joe, Bob, everybody, and then how you can lead your organization, that institution, to make sure that it gets its highest output. Now, I feel a little bit we're going to kind of hit a little bit across all 3, because one common trend I see with the entrepreneurs I work with, in helping coach them and evolving their leadership skills is, as entrepreneurs, they grow the business, like you said, like their kid almost, right? They're there, they're intimate with it. They bring it up, they create it. And when they get to the point where they have teams, they kind of have this grasp on everything. You know what I mean? They're like, they got their fingers into everything. They know everything, but to the point where it's almost holding them back.
Absolutely.
It to the point where it's holding them back. It's holding their business or organization, whatever that is, because we have nonprofiters that listen to the show as well, and it's holding them back. So how can we get these people to understand that you can't be the perfectionist of everything?
Exactly. You've said that extremely well. And I see exactly the same thing with every single entrepreneur I've ever worked with. And as the business grows, and I'm going to say if you're lucky, because there is a lot of luck to it and a lot of hard work and sweat. But as the business grows organically, the more you tighten your fingers around it, it's like the more opportunity slides through your fingers. So you have to learn to delegate, and you cannot scale without processes. Probably the first thing every business owner will delegate is the bookkeeping. Very few of, so yeah. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do my taxes. I don't want, so the accounting piece is really easy for people to delegate. The last thing they seem to want to delegate is the marketing. And I think that's because, sort of on the right brain, left brain continuum, we're at the complete other end, because they see marketing as being creative and somewhat mystical and it's not black and white or red and green like numbers are, right? So over and over I hear, no, I can't delegate the marketing because nobody else gets it. Or I hear, I've tried to delegate the marketing. We've tried to outsource it. And it just went all wrong because they didn't understand it. So yes, that's true. But again, it comes back to letting go enough to kind of see from an outside perspective. So one of the things we've developed in trying to help people understand how to do that is a concept I'm calling marketing from the C-suite. And that encapsulates what it takes to lead the marketing rather than to do the marketing. You've got to, a leader, in order to scale their company, to scale anything, they've got to pull back from the minutiae. They've got to be able to delegate, but they do still have to be able to lead it. And if you can document it, that's the first step to delegating it. So marketing from the C-suite is about pulling back and looking at the processes, because there are defined processes, there are defined building blocks that go into creating a foundation for your marketing. And unless you have those in place, everything else out there is just taking a stab in the dark. So getting those foundations, and a lot of it is the stuff that you hear over and over. You know, your brand, your brand identity, your logo. Some of these things, it's your voice. A lot of it comes back to your mission statement. That a company's mission statement should very definitely drive their marketing. So all of these pieces that go together, unless you nail those down and people have an understanding of those, you can't delegate it. You can't even do it effectively yourself. I can't market for my company if the rules change every time I go to post an ad. So establishing those things that are not going to change are essential for scaling your business, scaling your marketing. So with that being said, what we've done to sort of help illustrate that is we've developed marketing superheroes. And we thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it. You know, you got to have some fun with your marketing. My premise is, if you have founded your own business, and I don't care if you're a solopreneur or if you have a $500 million manufacturing company, if you've founded your own business and you have successfully run it for more than 6 months even, you are a marketing superhero. You had the vision, you have the idea, you have something creative in you to start this business. But like any superhero, you have your strengths, but you very likely have your weaknesses. So understanding those strengths and weaknesses is the first step in learning to delegate. So we've got this little quiz. You go to our website, www.sullivansolutions.com, and you'll see right on the front, you know, which marketing superhero are you? Take the quiz, and some of these questions are gonna look very familiar. But in my 30, 40 years of working with small businesses, they're the ones I've heard a lot. And you answer the questions, and it'll give you a somewhat lighthearted feel for your superpowers and your weaknesses. And based on those, we have some tools that illustrate some of the documentation that we expect to have in place in order to be able to delegate, lead, and then, more importantly, benchmark and get the return on investment, understand the value of the marketing that you're doing. Because that's what's ultimately, you want to be able to delegate it, but you want to be able to delegate it so that you know you're getting your money's worth out of it.
That's such a comprehensive answer. I was not expecting, but it's so. No. But it's so good. There's so much.
That's what you get. You know, we do this visually, and you looked interested, so I kept talking.
But there's just so many good nuggets in there, and the point back to delegation. I am a huge fan of delegation. If the listeners out there have listened to the podcast more than 30 seconds, they know that I love delegation. I believe I refer to delegation as a leadership force multiplier. So that means that enables you to do so much more as a leader. Now, with that, I totally resonate with what you're talking about and how, you know, marketers, entrepreneurs have a hard time letting things go and stuff like that. And like I said earlier, I see it myself with the people who I coach. Now, one of the things that I'm wondering, that's sticking out in my mind, is what makes delegating marketing so different than anything else? Because if you think about it, as soon as you hire an employee, you're delegating something. As soon as I hire my first person to run a cash, I've now delegated that responsibility to that individual. So what makes running the cash, or running your example of the books, so different from marketing in the first place? Why do leaders look at it with a different lens?
I don't think all leaders do, but I think there's definitely a tendency to still think of it almost like a black art. It's creative. There is no one right answer. So I can't, if you're doing the accounting and you add 2 + 2 and you get 5, it's pretty obvious that's the wrong answer to most people. And I can monitor that. I can get my head around it, and I know that even if I've delegated it to you to do that task, it's clear what's wrong. But marketing is so broad, it encompasses everything from signage at the point of purchase to SEO and digital ad. Maybe people, their eyes just start to cross because it's such a broad concept and there's so much detail to it. It's virtually impossible for any one person to be an expert at all of it. So I think that broadness just really scares people, and they have a perception that it's even more difficult, and they feel out of control with it. They don't feel like they can control it. I can control my tax accounting, or I can control my accounts receivable because I know what the benchmarks are. I know what to look at on my financial statements to know where I'm at. I know I can assess my operations because I know how much product is going out the door and how much material is coming in to supply that. And I look at my my labor, my employment reports, and I see these things and it makes sense. But marketing is sort of over here with outside that realm with things that we don't always understand. And my premise to the marketing from the C-suite is you don't have to understand it. If you're for most companies, SEO, search engine optimization, is a huge factor in their digital presence and their online content. You don't have to understand Google's algorithms to know whether it's working or not, but you do have to have benchmarks in place. And so that's marketing from the C-suite, is about helping these leaders understand what those benchmarks are. And if you go through the Marketing Superheroes quiz, the goal is to show that there's a one-page dashboard, if you will, for this issue or for that issue. And so it's oversimplified to a point, but there is a formula. There's a formula to how to publish your email calendar. There are formulas that you can establish for reaching your audience, and processes, again, that you can put in place that you can control that. And I teach them how to look at what numbers, you can have 50 million Facebook likes, but is that really the number that you use to hold your marketing department accountable to your social media strategy? Probably not. There's some other numbers we need to look at, but again, we can put those into a fairly straightforward report or dashboard that you can look at quarterly and hold your team accountable. You can hold them accountable for creating content that fits your mission statement, that illuminates the 5 benefits of your key product, you can hold them accountable to those things if you have documented that those are the things that are important to you.
You're a leader. You're busy. You're busy taking care of your people. You're busy taking care of your organization. And if you're a small business owner and you're at the top of the food chain, you're here listening to this podcast because you want to know how to lead your people better. So you don't have time for that nitty-gritty details that revolve around marketing. Believe me, I get it. I'm with you side by side. So that's why, you know what? I've tapped into using Penji. If you look around at all my social media, banners and logos, they're all developed by Penji. Jonathan Grzybowski, co-founder of Penji, has been a great supporter of the podcast, and I'm supporting him. So if you go to penji.co, penji.co, and use the coupon code MFL15, you're going to get 15% off your monthly subscription. And that isn't just 1 month. No, that is for life. As long as you're paying into them, you're going to get that 15% off, which is huge. Check it out and see if Penji is right for you. Because you know what? I know they're right for me. Again, that is Penji, penji.co, and use the coupon code MFL15. And now, time to get back to the show. Makes absolute sense to me. And in fact, the way you explain it to me makes me feel even more so that, delegating marketing isn't different than delegating anything else. You empower your people, you give them your vision for the organization, you give them the parameters of which you want them to operate within, and you let them go and do their thing. Because one would think if you're hiring people to do marketing, they would be marketing experts. I am not a marketing expert. I tell you right now, I can talk leadership all day long. I can talk on a podcast all day long. Video, probably not the greatest thing. I'm a voice for radio, or a face for radio, as they say. But the point is that that's my lane. That's my thing. That's what I do best. Marketing, oh God, I could post on my personal social media, but trying to do, the hashtags and all this stuff, my eyes glaze over. I start frothing at the mouth, and someone's about ready to call the ambulance because I'm just like, this does not make sense to me. That's why I empower people, bring them in and say, all right, this is my vision. Here's our products. Here's the services. This is what people are going to get out of it, blah, blah, blah. Do your thing. This is our budget. This is what I expect at returns, etc. Come back and let me know. And it's no different than delegating to anybody else, anything else.
No, that's absolutely right. A leader has to be the visionary, and they have to understand how to share that vision, empower their people to embrace that vision, and then hold them accountable to that. And marketing is the same way. A lot of times the hesitation with the marketing is the leader doesn't know what they want. They don't have a vision. They can't communicate their expectations.
Right.
Ergo, you cannot lead it.
Therefore, it is not a marketing problem. It is a communication problem and a leadership problem. And hence why they should come see me first before they go see you.
Yes. I'm a big fan of Seth Godin, and, I avoid trying to, I will quote him rather than try and be, I don't feel the need to be original on everything. He did a blog post about 2 years ago titled, "You May Have a Marketing Problem If."
Oh, right.
And it really illustrated how so much of the leadership and of a company truly is a marketing problem. It's perception, expectation, follow through.
No, it totally is. That makes absolute sense. Now, I'd like to double back to your superheroes, because while you were talking, I took the test.
Okay, great. What'd you get? Let me see if I
apparently I'm a slasher.
Okay, so if you're a slasher, that means that you do all the, okay, so we'll read your answers here. You say you do all your marketing yourself, and you have 0 people that are actually selling for you. But if you're a slasher, you're probably really good at sales. So sales is your superpower, but your weakness might be missed opportunities.
Right.
So if you're out there driving sales and your numbers are looking good and stuff's going out the door, you might have some missed opportunities in not only in driving additional sales, driving some product development. One of the things we often overlook as a marketing problem is recruiting. So if you may actually be selling the product, but is your marketing supporting your recruiting efforts? Is it supporting your diversity initiatives? Is it supporting your vendor qualification program? Is your marketing greasing the wheels in the other areas of your business? So there's a broader perspective there where slasher tends to be very focused on sales and not very focused on everything else that ultimately does drive customer perception. It drives the scalability of a company with all the pieces that aren't directly sales oriented.
That makes absolute sense to me. Like, as you explained that, I'm like, at first when I saw like sales, really? But then as I started thinking more and dissecting more, I started realizing, I'm like, no, this actually makes sense because, this podcast, it's a sale. I'm selling it for free, but it's a sale. It's a tool,
it is a
right?
sale. Exactly.
Right. And
Exactly.
now I talk about my services, which are sales. But the other things are the things which I need to work on. And I fully acknowledge that. And I'm working on them right now, in fact, getting better in my other areas. So that makes sense. Now, how about the other superheroes out there? What are they, and what are their benefits and pitfalls and all this stuff for the audience?
Well, the first one, and I'll take them in alphabetical order. So the first one, and I will freely admit that I'm a little bit sexist on this. All of my
they're all women. Hey,
are feminine. Not making any kind of a statement here other than the fact that I originally released this at a presentation for the National Association of Women Business Owners. And it just made sense at the time. So anyway, Captain Fabulous is a superhero, a business leader whose superpower is actually delegation. They're very good at delegating. Their weakness is more in the lines of interpretation and accountability. So I'm all about delegating and giving someone else the responsibility to do this, but how do I hold them accountable? And how do I interpret the results that they bring me? Because often the frustration of marketing is that the return on investment is theoretically justified by numbers I don't understand. And I get all this information that is meaningless to me, so I don't know how to hold these people accountable. So that can be a weakness. The next one is elastastica. And this persona, the superpower for this one is experience. This is someone who has done a wide variety of things. They've tried a lot of marketing. They feel they know what's successful. They understand their sales funnel or their sales pipeline. They know what works because they've been there, done that. But too often they find themselves saying, I know what I want, so it's just easier to do it myself. In this case, the weakness truly is delegation. They just can't let go because they can't put words around, they can't manage the expectations that come out of that experience. This is truly the one that says nobody else gets it.
Just easier if I do it myself.
Exactly. And who has not said that at least once, like today? But anyway, the third one is hot dogga. And this lady, superhero, her superpower is experimentation. And I've had a lot of business owners who have tried a lot of different things, and these are the folks that literally have multiple balls in the air at any one time. They tend to be the ADHD types. Oh, squirrel, let's go off in this direction and try this and see if it works. They're very good at that, very open to trying new things. They've already tried almost everything, so they're very open-minded. But the weakness then is effectiveness, because it's difficult to pick one thing and do it well. And this, in a leadership situation, your team can't be effective because they don't know what to focus on. They're looking at the leader, trying to do their job and do it well, but they're getting mixed signals all the time that this happens, and that's very difficult. So we talked about the fourth one, slasher, the one that came up in your profile. So clearly a strong manager, never overspends on marketing. You are able to set your expectations, but as we talked about, you may be missing some opportunities to go the extra mile and really get the extra bang for your buck that's going to scale your business. Wonder worker is the fifth one. This one is sort of the person that just seems to be good at all this stuff and really juggles well. It has nothing to do with whether they're new at their business or whether they're a veteran, but they're really good with putting all the pieces together and being entrepreneurial and being visionary. But their weakness is time. There just aren't enough hours in the day for them to get it all done. And this can easily lead to the delegation issues. So, as a leadership coach, you've got to invest your time where it makes the greatest difference, and learn how to make the best use of the resources that you have. So with each one of these, we've got a couple of hacks, a couple of worksheets, if you will, that we suggest might help get you in the frame of mind for attacking some of your weaknesses and actually working them through your marketing strategy.
No, and I just pulled up mine, and yeah, this, what, folks, to listen, go to the show notes because the link's in there, and check this out, because a lot of this stuff people have to pay for. What I'm looking at right now, often, and you're giving it away for free. So that's thanks for that, and I'll be diving into this later after work tonight.
Squirrel.
Yeah. No. I'm actually very very deliberate with my times. I have set podcast times, I have set editing times, set coaching times, etc. So, and then I have to revolve that around my work life, which as a senior Canadian Army officer in a high readiness unit. So that means right now, at any time, I could receive a phone call, and 12 hours later, I could be getting on a bus for an airplane for any
Wow.
So yes, I need to be very deliberate in essentially every aspect of my life. Oh, not to mention I have 2 young boys and a wife.
Oh yeah, so you know all about. You're an expert at juggling already.
Oh yeah. No, it's insane. Most people don't know how I survive.
But in one way or another, that's really what almost every small business. It is easy to get into firefighting mode. You don't know what's coming down the pike. You don't know who's coming in the door the next day. You don't know what's happening. You have to be in an instant or in a constant state of readiness.
No, and well, it goes back to planning, prioritization, which are all leadership traits, right? Now, as we wind down the show here, if you're to give that one golden piece of advice to leaders out there who may be overseeing a marketing team or is in charge of a company, they're the entrepreneur, they're the small business owner, what would that golden piece of advice be?
Wow, that's a tough one. And you want this in how many seconds? I think the one piece of advice is you can't do it all yourself. And probably marketing should be the first thing you outsource, not the last, because it's the thing you will be the least objective about.
Like it actually, it makes sense, right? Because if you think about it, marketing is the thing that brings people into your business, your company, your organization, whatever. And I really like the part about how you connected it to recruiting as well, because you need to market your company to attract the best people. So attract the best clients, attract the best people to work with in it, and that frees you up to do what your strength is. And if in my case, if it's sales, then that frees me up to do sales, because all of a sudden I have someone bringing people to me. Vice me trying to bring someone to me and then trying to talk to them and say, okay, this is where I think we could be a good fit. What do you think?
Right.
Right. And that allows me to focus my efforts.
And you have a limited amount of energy. There's only so much. You're doing this clearly because you love it, but the things that you aren't as effective at will drain your energy faster. And it's a very slippery slope. So you've got to, and this all feeds back into your leadership philosophies to be effective.
Awesome. Karen, I love it. I've had a great time talking to you today. Before we wrap up the show, I do got a couple of last questions for you. And the first one being a question I ask all the guests here at Moving Forward Leadership. And that is, according to you, Karen Sullivan, what makes a great leader?
Someone who recognizes my strengths.
Wow. Short, simple, to the point. Love it. And it's so true. Someone who recognizes your strengths and empowers you to act on them. Absolutely. I've had a number of people out there do that with me, and it's night and day compared to those who don't. And the final question is, how can people find you? How can they follow you? Feel free to give yourself a shameless plug. It's all about you right now.
I'm easy to find. It's sullivansolutions.com. One Sullivan, multiple solutions. And we're on most of the social media. Karen Sullivan. I'm just another Karen, but old enough to be usually easy enough to find out there. So everything's linked from our website, and that's probably the best place.
For you to listen, it's easy. Just go to movingforwardleadership.com/136, and the links are all there in the show notes for you already. Karen, again, thanks for coming out. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. Marketing, it's something that, as I said, I need to get my head wrapped around, because I can't do it all, even as a leader. So thanks for coming out.
This has been great, Scott. Thank you so much.
All right, that's all I got for you fine folks today. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the interview. And most importantly, I hope you got something out of it. And if you did, remember, R squared, S squared, right? Rate and review the show so that it gets a little bit noticed, a bit more. But most importantly, I can help more people, because that's what I'm here for. That's what my guests are here for, is to help more people become better leaders and not being bosses, right? So remember that. R squared, rate and review. S, share the show. Share this show with someone who you think can relate to the podcast as a whole and today's topic. And then finally, subscribe. Subscribe so that you never miss another episode. And you can do that via your podcast playing app of choice through movingforwardleadership.com/subscribe. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, stop bossing and start leading. Take care now.